All right, Coyotes fans, welcome into an episode of our new podcast, Off the Post, with Shane Doan and Paul Bissonnette. I'm not sure whose name is supposed to go first, but I'm Luke Lipinski. I'm your host here, setting these guys up. So Doan and Biz are here. Guys, how you doing?
Great. How you doing, Biz?
How about that stall? Because he knows how much I talk, so he thought I was going to chime in first.
I did. I was trying to be polite.
Very respectable of you. Yeah, tough to get a word in around me, Luke.
I have to set the scene for anybody that's just listening. We've got Biz. Biz, where are you? Because we can see all the backgrounds here on the Zoom call.
I'm in my office. I try to keep a straight deal. I try to keep a straight face. And then we got Prime Minister Doan over here.
I sit upright, straight.
I don't know if people can see this. If they're just listening to the audio, Doaner looks very professional. He has to be all professional with his new job with the Coyotes. Woo, woo, welcome back, Doaner.
Yes, that's exactly what I am. Very professional.
Well, Doaner, let's start there, man. Let's, in case anybody doesn't know, let's just kind of do a quick recap of what your new role is with the Coyotes. I know a ton of fans, all the fans, we're excited to see you come back. So I know maybe it's different this year because of all the craziness with the pandemic and everything, but how are you liking the new role a couple weeks in?
It's great. It's something that I'm kind of learning a lot, but at the same time being able to help a lot. So the idea of doing a little bit of hockey ops, doing a little bit of corporate, being around people and shaking hands and kissing babies and doing that stuff, I don't mind doing that. That's okay. As long as I don't get them first.
Well, I know he was working with the league. I would imagine going off working with the league probably taught you a lot about the overall outlook on it. And that type of knowledge is probably awesome to bring back to discuss with, back being with the Coyotes too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Cause I got to be with like the different situations and different clubs and be part of different organizations and see how they all were functioning and how it all works. So to be able to do that was a lot of fun. And the guys, the guys in hockey ops are sick. And I took so much heat because I never said Sean Ellis when I did the stuff with you. I didn't say Sean Ellis. And he's like the biggest Spitting Chicklets fan. And his friends are just abusing him. So I'm saying
Look, half the episode was done. Half the episode was done doing shout outs to all of his boys at the league. No, but you were saying that like just watching everything behind the scenes is how they were able to execute the bubble and moving on a dime and even executing the fact that we got a 56 game schedule in. It must be crazy seeing all that has to get done.
What was the most amazing part was seeing how long we prepare for an outdoor game or for a European game. It's like 18 months. Like it's nonstop. Like I was on calls with the IOC committee with what we're going to do with China already. And that's like how, if it's going to happen and how it's going to happen and everything that goes along with that. And anyways, it's like 2 years out. So to do the bubble in 3 weeks was like insane. Like those guys were going, it was unbelievable that they pulled it off. And I mean, what Gary and Bill kind of were just so determined to do it that it gave everyone confidence that was going to happen. And it wouldn't have happened if they hadn't been like that.
Awesome.
You guys, when I first started covering hockey, you two were obviously two of the best talkers on the team. And I always knew Biz would be in a role like this, but did you ever see Shane in a role like this, working for the league, now working for the team?
Well, yeah, personally, I never really saw him leaving the organization. Like I thought it was going to be a transition from there until you want guys involved who not only have the credibility, but who have a pulse on what's been going on, the people around, and nobody had a better pulse than Doaner as far as what was happening in that locker room. So, now that he's back, I mean, I see it easing into a bigger role down the road because I think that he has a lot of insight into the hockey world. I would spend sometimes 30 minutes, an hour after practice, just picking his brain about stuff and his opinion because he talks to a lot of credible people all the time. So, yeah, I definitely could see him in this role, but I could definitely also see him in a role where he's got maybe more say on the hockey side of things as well.
You guys, that team, those early like 2010 teams had a ton of character when you consider like you've Shane Doan, you've got Biz, you've got Keith Yandel. I mean, that's when you look back, are those some of the crazier teams you guys have played on?
Yeah, well, we having Yans and Biz and Oki and Derek Morris and Mike Smith, Fiddler, and like you could go through the whole team, like the whole group of guys. Having Uppy for a little bit of time, having Brizgalov. You were there when Briz was there for a little bit of time. Like you go through it and you're like, man, there's some big personalities that were so much fun to be around. Jovo being in with Jovo, and it was a riot to be able to be friends in that with those guys and in the room and watch their interaction. It was awesome. It was
nonstop. If you said something that was remotely stupid, you would have 10 guys on you. And obviously that would happen about 6 times a day for me, but it was great because there were so many leaders in the room as well. I mean, of course, Doaner, but you said Oki, like he was another guy on the back end. Mo, we just had such a veteran team that gelled so well. And I'll never forget, like, I would always like look at the hockey news and stuff. The first 3 years that I was here, we were ranked like 14th and 15th to finish in our respective conferences. And even after we'd made playoffs the year before and we went 7 with Detroit, the next year we made playoffs, although we got swept, it was still, we had the same core group. And the next year again, when we ended up going to the conference finals, and it just goes to show when you have a team that bonds so closely, despite what things might look like on paper, what you can achieve is wild. It was such a fun ride to experience with all those guys.
We finished with 107 points. Like we were picked to finish dead last in the whole league, and we finished with I think 107 or 109 points, something like that. And I think we were like the third. We had the third most points or fourth most points in the NHL. We ended up third and had to play Detroit because they were 6 or something. But at the same time, it was so much fun. It was a great time.
The way you said that made it sound like when Biz got there, you guys immediately jumped up to 107 points.
Oh yeah,
I was trying to throw that in there.
Oh yeah.
Came in hot from Pitt.
I know. We've told the story on the podcast before. I think I think our first game was in LA.
Yeah, it was first game.
Doaner was never on the table, and I was just trying to joke around. And I think it was after the game, and I said, "Oh, on the table already, Doaner." And every guy in the room was looking at themselves like, "Is this guy serious? This guy should be throwing bags into the back of the truck right now so we can get over to the airport." And he's chirping Doaner. And I was always known for coming in hot. Thankfully, things settled down, and Doaner was a pretty enjoyable guy to be around, so he didn't take any offense to it. I think all the other guys did, though.
It was awesome.
No, it wasn't. It was not awesome.
The guy that was most upset was Serbs because he'd been trying to get me to get like, hey, you got to take care of yourself. You got to get on the table. Try to take care of yourself. So at the beginning of the year, he's like, hey, let's start the year off right, and let's see if we can take care of your body. And I was like, I don't need to, but he convinced me to do it. And then Biz came in and chirped me for doing it.
Maybe that's why the next day Serbs stuck what are those things? The patches?
Yeah.
Stim.
The bumpers.
He put the stim machine on my brain the next day and went full blast on it. Say one more word to Doaner.
Yeah.
Looking at this year's team, guys, and we're only a few games in. It's a very different season with the 56 games. We just saw Vegas 4 times in a row. I guess let's start there. That has never happened to the Coyotes before, to play the same team 4 times in a row in a regular season matchup. Just your guys' impression, Doaner, I'll start with you. What it would be like to play the same team over and over, because it's not the playoffs, but you are kind of adjusting every other day when you're seeing the same team that much.
Yeah, for sure. We did it when we were in Winnipeg. We never did 4 in a row, but we did a few in a row because we would have to fly from Winnipeg to Vancouver, then commercial from Vancouver to LA, and then you'd stay in LA and play them for a couple times. I think that they did 3 once, but we'd never done 4 before. I think it's great, and I think that you do have to adjust. And you did see how we kind of jumped on them early, and we were up on them in the first game, and we're hoping to get those 2 points, how valuable that would have been for the overall series. And you start to look at it more like a baseball series where, hey, you got to win that first one so you have a chance to get the split and then go from there.
Biz, what would you have been like if you were seeing the same team 4 games in a row?
Well, I would have only played 2 of them, so wouldn't have been as crazy for me. But I probably would have got a couple dust ups against Reeves, and that would have sucked. So I had 2 losses on that. No,
that's not true. I don't care. That is not true. That isn't even close to true. Hey, I think you do more than okay.
So let me ask you this one, Doaner. Jonathan Toews was pretty vocal about doing this moving forward, and saving not only on like travel time, it's easier on the players as far as scheduling. I like it, and it does create more of that rivalry and that matchup to where things maybe do gain a little bit more intensity, which I think, given the climate of where the game's at, that's a good thing. Like you're seeing it, like I'm seeing it more so in the Canadian division where there's more rivalries, like Tkachuk in the Leafs already. And Tkachuk seems to find himself always in the middle of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. And as far as the Coyotes are concerned, like to see them be able to compete with, maybe what the expectations were coming into the season against a team like Vegas, I was impressed. We got a gritty squad, and we got guys that are, we picked up that are out to prove themselves, and it's kind of like that misfit mentality again. So, I was going to say the only one thing that I've noticed so far is, and this is hard to find, guys, net front presence.
Yeah.
And it's somewhat of a dying breed. I thought Soderberg did a great job last year for us. I see glimpses of it with Dvorak. You look at a guy like Hornquist, who's in Florida right now. I think he's already got like 2 or 3 tip-ins. He had the one at the buzzer beater the other night. Like, I was not good at it either. I think that they just need to establish one, like get a guy who can play in front of the net better.
Well, yeah, you get playing on the perimeter, and especially against a team like Vegas where they got a good blue line and they're not going to let you get close to the net. But you have to pay that price. It's funny because when you watch the highlights of every goal, it seems like there's a huge scrum in front of the net on every goal. Like that's kind of how goals go in. You just got to get a little bit more time in the offensive zone and set up a little bit better. And I think we've won the possession, I think, in the last, 5 of the first 6 games or something like that. So we're having some success with that, or 5 of the first 7. But we got to get to – I agree. We got to get to the front of the net more if we're going to really have success. No one beats any goalies with a clean shot anymore.
Not Gibson either. That guy's a mutant.
He's so good. And you watch what he did. It looked easy at times. Like he made some really good saves. Like he made a couple saves. Devo dropped the puck in the slot a couple times where he kind of stole the puck the one time, laid it back, and then got lucky. But you got to have more people to the net and cause that second chance opportunities, because you're not going to beat the goalies on that first one, I think.
Well, I was talking to Luke beforehand, and like you were a guy who, over the course of my time here, you were always reliable, where you were always going to be the guy in front. You had to eat pucks sometimes too. Talkett did mention the fact that we do need some guys on the back end, maybe hammering it a little bit harder. Like we had Oki and Mo, and you were eating some pretty tough pucks there in front of the net. It's also a case of getting them through maybe a little bit harder as well.
Yeah, I'm not as big on. I understand shoot to score, but Jan's biggest strength was that he would get the puck through. Like he would, and then I started to really trust him, so I would dig in. I'm like, he's going to shoot he's not going to shoot the puck to kill me, and it's going to be somewhere that I can touch it. Where okay, what about when Z shoots a puck? When Z would shoot the puck, I wasn't standing in front when Z shot the puck.
Chicklets. You'd be spitting chicklets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was scary. Like you get Z shooting the puck, and he would shoot the puck so hard every time, and often it was above the level that I wanted it at, and it would be a little bit tough, but he would be shooting to score.
Did you have a trust meter? So if Jans would clip you'd say, hey, you're at 70, you're emptying the tank a little bit here on the trust tree?
Yeah, that was the one-timer. He would catch me with that one-timer every now and again. He'd shoot. He hit me one time 3 weeks in a row in the exact same spot 3 times. And my inside of my thigh on my left leg calcified, like the muscle started to calcify because it kept getting hit every time in the exact same spot. It hurts so much. I'd just lay on the ice and cry.
That's why I wasn't a good net front guy, hating getting hit by the puck. I'd much rather take a punch to the face than block a shot.
And I think what makes OEL so good, and the reason he scored 20 goals back-to-back years, is because he uses his shot and gets it through so well. That's hard to do. That's a talent, getting it through.
And I was going to say, at the time, he did have a guy who was in front with great net front presence taking away the goalie's eyes. little tire pump donor.
There we go. Oh, I thought you were talking about Martin Hansel.
Oh, yeah. No, I was.
I assumed that.
All right, guys, this was a lot of fun. We'll do it again. Thanks so much for the time. For Shane Doan, for Paul Bissonette, I'm Luke Lipinski. This has been Off the Post.